Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through all the tests for my program. You should see them in the document you've got in front of you under the test plan. There's about 70 odd tests for all the forms. They're split into different categories. So you've got load forms, primary database managers, connected database managers, and miscellaneous forms. The connected database managers and primary database managers have the same tests for each form. So there's 5 tests per form, and there are 9 forms. So they'll all be tested. And the load forms and miscellaneous forms all have, relatively speaking, unique tests. So, alright, let's get started on the first form. FRM secure login. See here. First tests to run through them. Does username and password login work? Does staff ID and password login work? Does login via the enter key work? Does selecting a user in the list view work? Does incorrect username and password get denied? Does incorrect user ID and password get denied? And when logging in successfully, does the main menu appear? Alright, let's start off with the first one. Yep, that works. Yep, works again. I'll test actually pressing the button as well. Yep. Works again. So that is the first 3 tests successful. 4th test successful. Selecting a user does also work in this view. Incorrect username. Yep, there you go. That works as well. And that also works. And as we can see, the main menu did come up every time we opened up. Every time we used the login and succeeded. So that is the first form done. That is a complete pass for that form. Next form is FRM main menu. To run through those tests quickly. Did the date time clocks show the correct data? Does the user label show the right staff name? Does the rank label show the right rank? Does the user's graph show the correct data? Does the warnings graph show the correct data? Does the user's graph number of input change the scale of the graph? Number of weeks input change the scale of the graph. And same goes for the warnings graph. Does the number of weeks input change the scale of the graph? And then when closing the main menu, does it open up secure login again? Start with the first tests. Go to the label tests. So does the date time work? Yes, it does. You can see it just up there. That is the correct data. It shows the correct name, which is just admin, and current rank level is rank 20. Do these work? Do the graphs for the stats work? To quickly test the number of weeks input, you can see there that if I say change that down to 5, that's to 6 weeks. Yep, you can see that it's got the correct data. Well, as if I change that back up, there's a slight amount of lag. Not quite sure why. But that does work there. And doing it for this one as well. Yep, that also works. Changing those scales works. I don't know why that line's appearing between the two. I think that's just purely the program struggling with something. Not quite sure what though. But we'll add some more warnings. We'll just add a load of, I don't know, this warning here. Close that off. Then to get these to update, you do have to change the weeks. think that's changed, I just haven't noticed it. We'll try that again quickly, we'll add some more. Yep, there you go. Yeah, you can see that it's changed there. Yeah, it's gone above. Yeah, I just hadn't noticed it last time. And adding users. I have no idea why it is this laggy. You can see it's changing in the background there. See there. So that shows those do also work, and when I close this, see it opens up correct form. So that is all the tests passed for that. I'm not sure about the lag. I think that might have been my PC doing that, to be honest. It's not done in the past, so I'm not going to count that as any bug. Right, now on to the primary database managers. To run through the tests quickly for them. They're going to be fairly quick tests. Even, there we go. And there are 5 tests per form, and they consist of: does the list view control automatically populate with data? Does selecting a record fill the input fields? And when adding a record with the fields populated, does it work? When deleting a record, oh no, I've skipped a test there. When updating a record, if something is selected, does it work? When deleting a record, when something is selected, does it also work? Just testing the general functionality. And as I said, there are a lot of them, so I'm going to kind of burn through all these tests as quickly as I can. Within reason, of course. But I'll take my time on the first one, just to show exactly how it works, each test. So, forms appeared. You can see the list views populated. If I select a record, then it's automatically filled those input fields. Those first 2 tests have passed, and then if I add a server, add a project, sorry, with all the fields populated, we can test that here. Add, yep, you can see that works. Now, of course, selecting each one changes what's in the input field. So if I just date that one there, see that that's also updated, and that bit as well. There you go. I'm going to add a couple of these so we can test the multiple delete. And you can see 3 tests here. Now, delete, delete, delete. There you go. That's all the tests passed for that form. An example of what the full passes. So now I'm going to burn through the rest of the forms and show. Right, list views populated, input fields populated. Adding rules works. Dating rules works. Yep. Deleting multiple also works. That's full pass for FRM Rules Manager. Sorry. Excuse me. Now on to FRM Server Manager. And selecting servers works. List views automatically populated. Let's add a test server. Test server. IP can just be some horrific number. Oh no, what have I done? Try that again. And we add. Let's remove, change that to 00. And 00 as well. Update that, we can see that works. Multiple, getting the buttons are mixed up on that. And multiple delete works. FRM server manager, it's full pass. Now on to FRM staff manager. You can see here, selecting them does work. Now adding a staff member, so we'll select citing staff member 1, 2, 3. His rank level is going to be 0. His notes are going to be not going to be that. Nothing. His password is going to be the world's most secure password of password. His full name is not going to be my name. It's going to be test. Add. And let's change that to something much, and let's change his password to 123. Update. Just to explain the password field here, what you can see is not what I've inputted, because you've had what I've inputted. Password is starred out, of course, because it is password, but what happens is the password then goes through process of being encrypted before inputted into the database. The encryption level is SHA-512, and it's just straight up SHA. Nothing really that special, to be honest. No salts or anything like that. So that is what you can see there. Updating a staff member, we just did that, yep. Deleting a staff member. Deleting multiple, I should say. All works. That is FRM staff manager, working. User manager, next one. I mean, yeah, that all works. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Test. Oh. Wait. Sorry if that caused any ear bleed from the volume. IP. Gonna mash numpad. There you go. Exciting. Add. There you go. It clears all the input fields on this form in particular because when going through and adding multiple users to the database, because you're going to be adding them in large numbers, it's easier if it just automatically clears all the input fields than you have to go through and delete each individual. But little change, well, little addition I should say. Nothing that special though. See, yep, that works. I'm going to update one of these 123 records. Update his username to 123 test. You can see that works. Multiple deletes. Only going to delete these two. Yes and yes. That works. FRM user manager works. Onto FRM warnings manager. There's a hell of a lot in here. So let's add citing warning to 123. Oh, I forgot to test the first bit. Yep, it does automatically populate. I think I did test it, but yeah. To 123's got number of warnings of 99999. And additional notes of cite. Add warning. Okay, one thing to remark is that it didn't add the additional notes. So I'll have to have a look at that. That's a pass question mark, I'd say. Because it did everything else fine, it just didn't do the additional notes. Now to update a record, let's update his to 10 number of warnings, and let's see if the update works for that. Update. No, it didn't. So update is a fail. Update doesn't actually do anything. We'll see if it changes the date at all. Date. Didn't change the date. So update is a complete fail. Now deleting records. Let's just add another one of them. Yeah, deleting works. So that's kind of a partial pass for warnings manager. Bit of a janky field form even. So I'll have to look at the fixing, the adding and updating of records on that one there. Now, that is all the primary database managers complete. All those tests done. Onto the connected database managers. Starting off with the most logical choice of staff project manager. The last one. Of course, there's no data in here at the moment anyway, so we'll add some data. and close it and open it. Yep, as you can see, it works. I've tested adding data, update that, see, and delete. Yep, that works. That's full pass for that one. On to Staff Warning Manager. Yep, list view automatically populates and everything like that. And the input fields so do their job. Add some of down the bottom. Yep, you can see that works. Updating also works. Multiple deletes. Oh, and the up. Got another one. Delete, delete, delete. There you go. That's full pass for Staff Warning Manager and Warning Rule. Yep, you can see the list view populates, all the input fields populate when you select a record. Now let's add some records. On to test 2. So these last ones here. And let's change that server. Let's update it. There you go, update works and multiple delete. Oh. Clicked off. Oh. Yeah, multiple delete works. I just clicked off the form. Being silly. So that does work. That's full pass for that one. That is all the connect database, primary database, and load forms done. So that is all the majority of the program covered. Now we're on to the miscellaneous forms. Curiously enough, I labeled them miscellaneous, even though the most important form is under that category. These two forms that we've now got to test are FRM user warn stat and FRM user warn. User warn stat only has one test, and that is purely because it's only got one thing on it. It's only got a report on it, and so the report is only required to show the correct data. So if we go on to that report, is this one here? Does it show the correct data? Yes, it does. How can we check that? We open up the other form, which is this one, which has all the same data on it, but this is how you edit the data. So see that that report is definitely correct. And on to the next form, which is FRM user warn. So does the list view automatically populate? Yes, it does. Does selecting a record work? Yes, it does. Does the flow layout panel automatically populate with the correct controls? Yes. So these are dynamic controls. If I add rules, I will have additional buttons here. The more I add, the more I can see. So to show an example of that, we just add a rule here. So does the FLP do a thing? Yes, it does. There you go. You can see that that rule now exists. So in real time, I can add rules to the database, to the rules database, this is, and then I can go back to this form and they will appear in this wonderful flow layout panel. Seems just more intuitive to add records that way, or select properties for a record like that. And the last test for this form, interestingly enough, is to do with these. Don't know why I didn't put it further forward, but we'll do that test now anyway, which is, does clicking it change its color? Yes, it does. That is how you select them. It's all done by color. So that is the last test as well done, but now I've got to do all the middle tests. So when adding a record with all fields populated, does it work? We'll test that. We'll add a record to script kiddie. Notes will be excite. And we'll select this new rule that we've added. I mean, of course, I can deselect stuff. There you go. You can see down below, I've just added that. So now we'll deselect this rule to represent the update. Does updating work? Yes, it does. What I will do, I'll quickly, well, I'll test more than just that with the update, because technically what deselecting a rule during an update does is deletes that part of that collection of records. Because each individual one of these is a separate record on the warning rule table? Yes, warning rule table. Which links to one warning record, which links to multiple rules and one staff member and one server. So if we try and change, for example, change the notes to exciting, and we'll change the server to server 52. That's a bug in itself. That should be showing the actual server name, not the server ID. Easy to fix though, so we'll update that. Don't think it changed. No, it didn't. We selected server 52. No, it didn't change. So that's a bug in itself. The server isn't being updated, so that's most likely a bug in warning rule. With the way in which I'm updating the records, which is by deleting them and remaking them. So that will be something I should look at. That's a kind of a pass question mark because only one thing isn't working. And then where's the next test? Does deselecting all rules in the flow layout panel delete the record? Yeah, it does. So there you go. You can see that it's gone now. That is all the kind of editing the database stuff done. All those tests done. The next tests are a selection of tests on the filters you can see off to the right of the form. Data filtration. Let's go through the tests and then I can do them all in one big go. Does checking the filter users filter the contents of the list view? Does changing the selected user automatically update the filtered data in the list view? And then it's the same tests but for the star filter. Does selecting a star filter it down, and then does changing the staff member you've filtered change the filter, and then following on from that, does checking both filters work and use both conditions, and then does changing either staff or user change those conditions actively. So to go through that, there you go. I filtered that down to just Kingman, and then I filter staff as well. Change it to John. Let's see if John's banned anybody. Doesn't look like he has. John hasn't banned anybody, but I have. See here. That is selecting both filters. So if I just select now the user filter, see that it does filter down to me. And if I just select the staff filter, see that it then also does filter just down to the staff member of choice. So that is all of those tests passed, because every time, as you can see, every time I change the staff member, it did also update. So that is all those tests passed. And that, as a whole for that form, is almost a 100% pass, except for the minor issue when updating. So I'll now proceed to go ahead and fix that. The other things to fix in the rest of the program is in FRM Warnings Manager. Go back up there. The updating of a record failed, and the adding of a record didn't add the notes to the record, I think. Yeah, it didn't add the notes to the record. So that's 3 little things I've got to go ahead now and fix. And I will then record a further video, show those tests succeeding once fixed.